theyeshiva.net.
So let's finish the last lines here of the Einyan Kislev Leah, right? So v'zehu sheknisasoi, 5 lines from the end of the Maamar. V'zehu sheknisasoi es Leah hoyer shaloi midaitoi ki yibchina shalamayla me'adas shaloi kniska le'ed. So that's why when Yaakov marries Leah, it's always shaloi midaitoi, unconsciously. Because Leah represents something that is beyond his das. So by definition, his relationship with Leah must come from a place that is beyond his das. In simple words, as we discussed, his das would never accept it, embrace it, invite it, initiate it. Where Rachel, on the contrary, is completely a product of his das, because Rachel works with his das. Rachel fits into his das. Rachel can be absorbed in his das. Leah cannot be absorbed in his das, and therefore, his relationship with Leah, his entry into Leah, Leah's entry into him, is from a place that is beyond his das. Amnam. In order to make this work, he says, Kol zahu kodim shenasa. This is all before he marries her. Once he marries her, now he has to process it in das. Now he's married to her. He's connected to her. She's his wife. Afterwards, and a husband has to give. A husband can't only, to be a husband, I give. A Baal is a mashpia, somebody who gives, who inspires, who invigorates. A Baal is a mashpia. To be a husband is somebody who gives his spouse, who fills a spouse. But you're talking about Leah being so beyond, so much deeper, so much loftier. So he says, after he marries her, of course, this is what he gets from her, but this is what she gets from him. Leah is Yaakov's wife, so she becomes a mekabel, she receives from him. This means that what Leah has to do here is something very profound. B'chinis levush lahaseichel belvad, v'nimshech lamata liyis malbeshes games hamidos v'nases b'chinis mekabel mehamidos. So the b'china of Leah, which is machshava, must descend. Leah, so to speak, must descend from being only a levush for seichel, which is higher than the midas, only a garment, a cloak, a vehicle, a medium, for the deep, deep awareness that's even deeper than Yaakov, and communicates and comes down to become a levush also for the midos, something that can facilitate and enhance and be mekabel from Yaakov, who is the midos, so that she should be able to become a mekabel from the midos. So therefore, in Leah itself, there's 2 stages. There's Leah, who she is innately in her full core, and then for Leah to be married to Yaakov Avinu as a wife. So Leah actually had to descend, had to come down in a state where she can actually be a spouse for Yaakov. So there's the element of Kislev Leah, because it's Lamayla Mehadas. But Leah goes through a tremendous process here, that she should be able to become a mekabel of Yaakov, to be able to facilitate Yaakov, to be able to help Yaakov, so to speak, actualize himself, to be able to allow Yaakov to give to her, to become a mashpia to her, that she should be able to be a mekabel of Yaakov. This Leah has to go through a tremendous yerida in herself. It's like a shtickle mesiras nefesh for Leah, that she should be able to be suitable as a wife. Why is she not suitable? Because she's so deep, she's so powerful. She's so incredibly infinite.
It sounds to me that it should be the other way around. The Leah should be a mashpia to Yaakov.
How did we switch?
Leah is a mashpia to Yaakov, but as a wife, she also is a makabel from Yaakov. She's also a makabel from Yaakov. How is a wife a makabel from a husband?
What does she put on spiritual?
Any good husbands here?
What is she receiving from Yaakov?
What is she receiving from Yaakov? Huh?
Everything. Guidance, protection.
Yeah, but that's the whole...
A sense of mythos. I mean,
Children.
That's
Confidence, warmth,
talking about Leah. She's infinite.
companionship.
A husband living up to the whole role of a husband provides a space of safety for a wife, something to contain her, and something to fill her. You know, there's a presence in her life that provides confidence, provides companionship, provides strength, provides inspiration, provides clarity.
What was the Messiah's name? She became less aware?
Not less aware, not at all less aware. Not less aware, maybe more aware that she could descend and allow herself to be a wife of Yaakov Avinu. So the machshava of Leah becomes a levush not only for seichel, as it was initially, and therefore it transcends Yaakov, it's l'mayla min hadas, but one that actually he can give to, he can elevate, he can enhance. There could be something that she's makabel from him. There's something that he could fill, a void that actually he can contribute, that he can fill, he can do something with.
But it can only be a levush. Her core can't change. I mean, Yaakov's his essence is midos. Rachel's essence is dibor.
Right.
Leah's
Right.
only going to get this as a levush. She's not going to.
In other words, it's either a levush for seichel or a levush for midas, right? So therefore, it could be a makabel from the midas.
She had 6 children.
Leah. That's how he started. Ema bonim.
So that's the Migos, the 6.
Yeah. That's why it's
I missed
6.
the beginning.
He started off that it's hamidah shisha shvat.
The opposite from midas to cycle.
Yeah, of course. The chiddush is that she also comes into the Yerida. Doesn't mean that she also comes into the Yerida. Which means, of course, that there's an element of Leah that remains always mysterious. It remains like a secret to Yaakov. It remains something that is that remains l'mayla min hadas.
But she's not going to be Senuah anymore.
Right. Or that itself is a process. I mean, you see, as she has children, she keeps on working it through, right? The first son, she says, Ra Hashem ba'anyi. The second son is Shama Hashem Kislev anochi. Suddenly the third son is Hapam Yilava Ishi Elai. Now he's already my partner. Yehuda, it's already known, Hapam Oida, I'm just thankful. I'm grateful. You see, with each child, there's a process. Of course, in the physical manifestation of the story, at some point, sadly, Rachel passes away. Only Leah is there. And in terms of the Kvura, Yaakov is buried with Leah, not with Rachel. And he'll speak about this to Yosef, Vani bevoyim ipadan mesalai Rachel, and he had to bury her spontaneously. It happened suddenly during childbirth, and she's buried in Beis Lechem. Of course, the cave that was purchased for the Avis and the Moises couples is Yaakov and Leah, which seems a little strange, because Rachel was Yaakov's choice, not Leah. Leah came in because of deception. So this means that on a spiritual level, it's really Rachel, so to speak, merges into Leah. Rachel passes away, which psychologically would mean that the image of his wife, just as Rachel, melts away and becomes absorbed in Leah. And ultimately Yaakov is buried, interred, ad hayoim hazeh, right, till Tchias HaMesim. It's Yaakov together with Leah, not Yaakov together with Rachel. So that means that the relationship between Yaakov and Rachel has a certain depth, where there's an element of Leah that was always meant for him. But that which was always meant for me, I will never process consciously. Because if I process it consciously, it's probably not really meant for me. It's what I think is meant for me, what I would like to be meant for me. What's really meant for me, is processed unconsciously. Some of you may know that there's a whole field of marital therapy that developed only recently, which is probably 2 lines of this Maamar. And that has to do with the theory. It's a very profound theory that when people, I should probably allow this young man to talk about it, maybe a little more experience, but I'll just articulate it b'kitzer. What do they call it? Imago therapy? What is it called? Imago? Huh? There's an idea, basically the idea is as follows. simple and brief terms, and that is that often when couples are having a challenge with each other, and sometimes it's a very deep challenge, they see no way out of it. It's like hopeless. I'm not talking about a disagreement, where we're going for Pesach, or which shul we daven, or even which school we send our kids, or if we're going to a milchka restaurant or a fleishika restaurant. Those are good fights. If that's your issue, you're pretty good off. But or the color of the wallpaper. I'm talking about the more deeper things where there's like this annoyance. I just can't deal with this person. This way or that way or both. Just it's a headache. To come home is a headache. It's just people love staying in the office, till 2 a.m. They almost love work because it's great, You sit with your computer, and your computer is always your best friend because you don't have to marry it. You just control it, right? And the spouse,
Shut it off whenever you want.
You shut it off whenever you want. You change screens.
You can replace the whole thing.
You replace it. You could smash it. If it has a virus, you just get a new one. It works.
You open the window when you want, and you close the window.
You open it. Exactly. It
You have
works.
any features you want.
You're not dealing with a reality outside of yourself. It's an extension of you, so it works. Or b'chlal relationships that are voluntary, before marriage, etc. As a woman once said, before I was married, what's the word? Before I was married, I was incomplete. Now I'm married and I'm finished. So this theory basically postulates the following idea, that what's causing the most pain in the relationship is actually what attracted you initially. What's causing the most pain in the relationship is what attracted you initially. Meaning, you were looking for this person, this man or this woman. So consciously, I like this, I like that, it's going to work, whatever. Subconsciously, you were probably looking to mend or to fulfill a certain void or a certain deep relationship that you need, but you never had. Or maybe you had it, but you need more of it. Or maybe you were scarred or wounded. Or maybe it was a sense of abandonment. Or maybe it was something that's very deep in you and may not even be in a negative, as a result of abuse or abandonment, but simply something that you really crave or yearn for on a subconscious level because of various factors, whether nature or nurture or a combination. And that's what you're really looking for in this relationship. But now again, the same story, what made you crave for it the first time, is what's causing the pain right now in the relationship, when it's not being met.
You found it then?
You had the potential to find it, but for that you have to identify what you were really looking for and why it's so disappointing again, because it may be the story happening a second time again, because it's being processed on a subconscious level. So it's like what's causing you the most pain is really what you were always looking for. But for this I have to have the deep humility and openness to be able to go to that space and say, this is what I really need from you. This is what I really need in you. This is what you really need from me. And this is what I'm not getting because I'm again not having the tools. I don't have the tools to acknowledge that and to be able to identify it and to be able to embrace it. It takes a lot of awareness. So essentially, if you want to put it in different words, you get married to Rachel, but really you're first marrying Leah. But your attraction to Leah is never midaita, it's shaloi midaita. But there's something Yaakov needs Dafka and Leah needs Dafka and Yaakov. Actually, Leah did it consciously, Yaakov did it subconsciously. Leah's in a position where she actually knows what's going on. Yaakov doesn't know what's going on. In our marriages, sometimes it works both ways that way, or whatever it is. B'chlal, in Sefer Bereshis, the women know what's going on always, and the men are clueless. From beginning Bereshis till the end of Bereshis, the men never know what's going on. I mean, Adam, his wife tells him to eat, he eats. Shine. It still happens that way, right? Your wife tells you to eat, you eat. She says you're not to eat, you eat when she's not looking. If you look, Yishmael, Sarah calls the shots, Yitzchak and Rivka the brachas. Yitzchak just gives the brachas. Rachel and Leah, they call the shots. Yehuda and Tamar, Loit and his daughters. The women basically run the show in Sefer Bereshis. They create history. The men just, the men dress up and run the Misha Beirachs and Shul. The Gabayim, they're the presidents, they give the sermons. The men give the sermons, right? In the Weiber Shul, they decide everything that's going to happen in history. I mean, if you read through Moshe and the river, the big stories, the building blocks of history, The women decide. So here also, Leah knows what's happening. But the idea in psychological terms would be that I choose Leah on a subconscious level because there's something in Leah that's beyond my das. For that very reason, Leah is despised. Because it's bringing up a relationship that wasn't resolved. It may be bringing up maybe something with your own mother, maybe something with your own father, maybe something with your siblings, maybe something with yourself. Maybe something with God, maybe something with your own identity as a man or a woman, maybe something in terms of your place in the world. And therefore, subconsciously, I need you, because if I can develop a good relationship with you, that's what I really crave. But I'm scared of it, because that's the need. That's why it's so needy. So to expose it, suddenly, wow, Leah is what I always needed. Leah is what I always wanted. But Leah also has to adjust herself. Leah, just like Yaakov has to adjust himself, Leah has to adjust herself. Now, I saw a vart in Tiferes Shloimeh. You know the Sefer Tiferes Shloimeh by the Radomsk, Reb Shloimeh of Radomsk. He says, on the pasuk Lomari Misani, it's an incredible vart, but it's hard to understand. I think now it becomes crystal clear. Yaakov marries Leah, Vayar Baboiker, Vihine hi Leah. When the sun shines, Baboiker is not just in terms of a clock. Baboiker is existential. When the sun shines, what's Baboiker? Baboiker is when you see things. Vihine hi Leah. I didn't see before. This was Leah. What's the first thing he does? He goes to Lavan and he says, I worked for Rachel. Lama rimisani. Why did you deceive me? Lama rimisani, he says, has two meanings. Rimisani from the word ramai, rimia, deception. Rimisani also comes from the word truma, elevation. Harama, to lift up. Lama rimisani, Yaakov says, favasastumir uvgaheben. Why did you elevate me so high? I didn't ask for it. To be in a relationship with Leah means you have to be in a very elevated state, very self-aware, extremely and brutally honest. Lamari misani. Rachel worked. Rachel was simpler. Rachel is a hand in the glove. It fits. It's adjusted. You know, you come to the shoe store and the shoe fits. Leah sekvetcht von alle Seiten. It squeezes and you have to go figure out what type of foot you have. You know, who needs to figure? I just want a shoe that fits, a hat that fits, a suit that fits. Rachel fits. It's perfect. Yaakov and Rachel were a perfect shidduch. Leah, I have to become bigger. I have to become larger. I have to become more mature. I can't be such a baby. I have to take responsibility. I have to look at things. Yaakov says, Lama rimisani, why did you lift me up so much? Why did you pick me up? Sometimes, if you're married to a wife, you know, what you hate most is often what you need most. What you hate most is often what's going to make you the person you're capable of becoming if you stop kicking and screaming and you stop being a victim. Of course, every klal has a yotzim and a klal. Sometimes you end up with a lemon, and it's not so simple. You can't always find the tikkunim in this world, whatever. It's not so simple always. I don't mean here to give a generalization that somebody's in an abusive marriage, it's like wonderful, awesome. Wow, it's great. It's like the more you're exhausting me, the better it is. You have to understand certain things are not acceptable. If a person is suffering or their children are suffering, they have to protect themselves. That's an obvious. Don't confuse Leah with that. Leah was not an abusive person. Leah was a very great human being. She was a giant of a person. But it doesn't mean it's not exhausting. Depth is exhausting. Depth is always exhausting.
Never finishes if you become aware.
It's exhausting as long as you retain your defense mechanisms. Once you open yourself up, then it's not exhausting anymore. Then it's freeing. It's liberating. But as long as you're protecting yourself, it's very exhausting. You understand what I'm saying? There's a moment when you get out of that mode and it's not exhausting anymore. On the contrary, it's. But for that you have to become comfortable in vulnerability. As long as you're not, Leah initially is exhausting. She's not really exhausting. Initially it's exhausting. It says about the man, Vayancha, Vayariveka, Vayachilcha es Haman, Laman anoischa, Vayancha. So all the Mefarshim, the Venezers, the man. He afflicted you, he made you hungry, and he gave you the man. Like it sounds like the man made Jews hungry. The man afflicted them. They weren't hungry, they had the man. So, there's the famous Litvische Dvart, the famous Litvische Balmusa said, the man made people hungry actually. Why? Because the Gemara says in Yuma that the man landed in 3 places. For tzaddikim, it came in front of the door. You opened the door, it was there. For Beinanim, it was in the middle of the desert. You had to go out, You had to go to the courtyard of the shul in the Yeshiva Spring Valley courtyard. You picked up the man. And for Rishoyim, it was mechutz lamachana. He says there was a chashav Talmid Chacham, and he did a psasin at night. So where would the man show up? Outside of the city. See, if he would go out, everybody would know who he is. He's a geblieben hungrig, avach Zeit. So he stayed hungry for a week, so he shouldn't have to go out. Okay, this is a bayan chavei arivek. Because popularity, you can't tell people who you are. The real vart is man is lechem and hashamayim. When you have bread from heaven, it has heavenly properties. Whenever you're tasting heavenly properties, you remain hungry. Why? Because infinity, the more you taste it, the more hungry you get. The more you eat, the more hungry you get. Because the more you eat it, the more you realize how much there is and how much you don't have, so the more hungry you are. You understand? So therefore, the more infinity, the more hunger, not the other way around. I once saw a letter from a Baal Tshuva. It was a very moving letter, a 60-year-old Jew. He wrote a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe that he became a Baal Tshuva and he started to learn Gemara, Halacha, and it's impossible. It's just, you start learning Gemara when you're 60. You start learning just the language, Chumash and Shnayas, right? He says he feels so frustrated that he's not getting anywhere. You learn, and there's always more. Oh, but if this happened, you never feel you can't master anything. So the Rebbe wrote back to him, those who learn Torah their whole life are much more frustrated. Those who learn Torah their whole life are much more frustrated. And the answer to both is lo yalecha ala malacha ligmar, v'lo yata ben chayrin lehibatel mimena. You don't have to finish, but doesn't mean you shouldn't start. What does it mean? Why? A Yid who knows why we get more frustrated, because that's the definition of Torah. The more you know, you get more frustrated. Because if you don't know, so you think, if I'll know, I'll know. But when you know that when you know, you still don't know. So what's now going to happen? So you're always in a state of not knowing. So unless you get open to that, you're really open to that, it remains difficult. Your typhus? So now, so this whole theory, which some people argue against it, okay, fine, our arguments in psychology are endless. But it sometimes rings very true in many people's lives. So I think he says it here, Mamash, in one line when he says that Yaakov marries Leah Shalomi Daitai, and then you have to, and then Leah has to come down, Yaakov has to go up, and they find things about each other. Moshe, if you want to explain this theory a little bit to the Olam, because I just said it from a layman's terms. We probably do this a lot with couples.
A quick classic example of this would be...
You can even tell a story that happened in your office.
Just a very quick classic example would be somebody who's for some reason, any one of 100 different reasons, never had a really good relationship with his mother, and goes into the marriage.
There's such people?
There are one or two, but he goes into the marriage looking for a ticket on that, and he wants a mother. And he meets a girl. They go out on a date. He meets a girl who is dying to be a mother. She's just this giving neshama. She wants to give and give and give and take care. So he wants to be taken care of, and she wants to take care. And they go out, and that subconsciously that creates a connection. They feel they go crazy over each other. They don't realize why they're going crazy over each other. He thinks he's going crazy because of the looks. She thinks she's going crazy because of his personality. Subconsciously, they're going. He's on a subconscious level. He's feeling somebody's going to finally take care of me, and she's thinking I'm going to finally be able to take care of somebody. 10 years later, it's he's screaming his head off. Don't tell me what scarf to wear. I'll decide which kind of coat to put on. Stop telling me everything I need to do. And she's feeling rejected. She's still getting signals from him that he wants to be taken care of. And then when she takes care, he screams at her, "Stop taking care of me." And so on and so on.
So they come to your office, and what do you tell them?
So that already depends. That can go 20 different paths. But
So we can identify.
if that's what's going on, and if they're holding by understanding it, it really depends if they're holding by more than just concrete work, if they're able to see this. He might get to the point where he realizes that for the last 10 years he's begging her to take care of him.
Why did
And
he go?
what?
Why did he say go away?
The same reason he probably told his mother to go away. Both things are playing them out. On a subconscious level, he wants to be taken care of. On a conscious level, he wants his independence. Both are fighting against. Both are very real. Both are fighting each other. He doesn't really want his independence, but he really does. And he doesn't. But once he's able to see that, once he's able to understand that, he's able to see the awareness of what he's begging her for, the awareness of what he's asking her for. And if she could see what she's doing to him, the awareness of maybe what she's giving him is not really what he needs. What she's giving him is what she needs to give. Once they have that awareness, she's able to give, he's able to take, or not. Or she'll say, don't forget to put on that coat, and he'll say, yes, mommy, and they'll both laugh, because they're both aware of what's going on. So, it's my kids.
Right. Okay. I thought, I'm sure, in millions and trillions of different ways as well. And sometimes it's even very idealistic. Not what I mean idealistic, it's always idealistic, I would say, but sometimes it's really even very, very pure. Extremely pure. In other words, that certain souls, they grow from a relationship with certain other souls that are different than them. Right? We're going to speak a little bit more on an idealistic level. Not necessarily a person who even had a good relationship with their mother, or maybe not. But sometimes, does this marriage have hope after he discovers that the only reason he wanted her was because he wanted a mother? So in other words, can the marriage only thrive if she's his mother? And what if she's not his mother? And what if he finds that he has to be his own mother? Or he makes up with his mother? Or
He says the same thing happened when he was a kid.
Right, but I'm saying now, when he comes to peace with you, he compliments, he tells his wife, okay, I don't need you anymore. Which happens sometimes, okay, so it's over.
Just important to know it's never that simple, is what I just said.
Right, it's quite much more complex, right? But sometimes when I could deal with that and figure out what I really needed from this person, and maybe I could find, and that person can't really give everything of it to me. Because some things you have, Avi v'imi azavuni v'Hashem yasveni. Some things you have to find within yourself. So actually, maybe now I could start looking at the person as somebody independent and appreciate them for who they are rather than for what they are in terms of my void. And they could see me the same way. So now the relationship can graduate to a whole different level, where you actually create space for the other person, which mentally before you couldn't, because you were like completely consumed by a need that the other person was filling, MS, that you couldn't even acknowledge them as a separate entity. So you can't really have a relationship with them. You're just having a relationship with your own pain and using them to fill that. So you don't even know who they are, never mind love them or like them. You don't even know who they are. You first have to know who they are to even know if you really like them, because my whole attraction was just based on filling my own stuff, my own wounds. So then you can actually begin a real relationship with the other person. And then you may discover new layers, and that is that there's actually something in this person, in their real metzius, that my soul will grow from in a very deep way, and their soul will grow from my soul. But it's something that may not be easy to adjust to or to embrace. It takes a lot of bittul or humility for that. That's another level in which you have to be able to grow into Leah. V'chuli v'chuli. I mean, it exists on many levels, very sublime, very aloof, very idealistic, very pure, and then also sometimes very complicated and very winding. Lots of, issues and pain and scars and wounds of the chuli. And blessed is the person who has the courage to be able to look at it, and not run. Okay, so now let's continue. We have 10 minutes. Let's continue weiter. If you have Torah Urs, right?
Yes.
So we basically came into this Maamar to just explore in more detail the Alma Discassia, Alma Disgalia. But now let's go back here to this Maamar Torah Ur, which, as I told you, was said a year earlier by the Balatanya, where he goes off to continue about Leah and Rachel a little bit in a different kav, but very similar in many ways.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.